When Front Page continues, kids who sniff inhalants, an undercover look at a deadly epidemic.
You have adrenaline rush because you know that you could die from it.
And
there's a new report out on drug use in America. Marijuana is making a comeback among teenagers, and so are inhalants. Everything from spray paint to fabric protector. Kids sniff them for a cheap high. They call it huffing. Doctors call it a deadly gamble.
I kept telling them in the emergency room, just let me die, I don't want to live.
I should live every day like it's my last because it might be.
I think kids don't really have a lot to look forward to anymore.
They high, you're high, everybody's high.
All the kids want us to some glue.
Today's kids are sniffing glue or anything else they can get their hands on. This one's huffing computer cleaner. Inhalants are easy to get and not suspicious. Everyday solvents and chemicals designed to freshen homes, fuel backyard grills, even maintain cars.
Octane. Because it just gives you that feeling, you know. Can't nobody stop you, you know, you just go loco.
New studies show 1 in 5 kids tries some kind of inhalant by the time they're in 8th grade.
I guess I just wanted to see what it was like, just to try it.
You have adrenaline rush because you know that you could die from it, and then you get the high going, and it's like...
Inhalants not only scramble your brain,
it was given to me by an angel,
but they're deadly too. 14-year-old George Umbihant huffed butane lighter fluid.
I don't think George really did butane or anything else to be cool, more as an escape.
George's friends say he was going to quit inhalants after just one more hit.
I was there for spring holidays, and we were like, well, we'll just hit it one more time, and he was going to get a job and all this kind of stuff.
And he promised me he would never do it again either.
And we were going to stop hitting the cans after that week. It was just that week that we were going to, like, party all the time.
This entire can emptied into George's body, and it's 100% butane fuel. You see the teeth marks on the tip where it was held in the teeth. They pulled off in this area right here and started huffing it immediately.
George passed out in the car. His friends thought he would snap out of it.
And 2 of his friends came over and just said that he was asleep. Then they left, and 5 minutes later, 2 of them came running back, and they said, but his lips are turning blue, and you need to come look at him.
George was pronounced dead on arrival at an Athens, Georgia hospital, one of several hundred deaths blamed on inhalants in the U.S. this past year.
When did you realize that George wasn't asleep?
About the time I was getting put in the back of a police car.
This teenager and another were charged with manslaughter, but because it is not illegal to inhale butane in the state of Georgia, all charges were dropped. In Georgia, as in most states, it is illegal to sell many products used for inhaling to minors, but the laws are widely ignored.
You can send your 10-year-old in to buy them, and they don't have to have no ID. It's no big deal. And that is infinitely more dangerous than them going in and picking up a 6-pack of beer and drinking it.
You have any Berryman's octane booster?
Austin, Texas is cracking down on huffing. Local police showed us just how easy it is for kids to buy inhalants. They linked us up with 2 volunteers, 16-year-old Carlos, who has never tried inhalants, and 11-year-old Roxanne, a recovering user. They were able to make buys in several stores.
$9.43, 57 cents.
$10 is all it took, in spite of store policy. Jaime Delgado is a manager at the Walmart. Fox News Front Page. We wanted to ask you a few questions. This young lady has been helping us with a story about inhalants. As you know, many young people are using inhalants and dying.
I've heard about it, right.
Are you aware that it's illegal in this city?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Well, we had her come in and purchase this can of spray paint. No questions asked.
She did?
Do you realize how old she is?
Did she bought it in here in the store?
Would you like the receipt? Here's your bag. Let me get your receipt for you.
You're going to have to talk to her.
I need you to turn off
turn off the camera, please.
Well, we're trying to... At the next shop, Carlos and Roxanne were able to buy a case of Whippets, nitrous oxide canisters meant for charging whipped cream dispensers.
Excuse me, sir. You got any Whippets? Yeah, right down here. You got a box?
Yeah, they're boxes. They come in boxes of 24.
Yeah.
At another shop, the clerk not only sold inhalant paraphernalia to the kids, but showed them how to use whippets to get high.
Make sure your balloon's pretty tight and just grab it off.
Is that you?
Yes, ma'am. Is that a minor?
Yeah, 11 years old.
11 years old.
She's 11, he's 16.
I mean, this is you showing a minor how to use this stuff, and there's only one use for it, right?
Right.
You're not making whipped cream. You don't have a problem with it.
It's my job, I guess.
We've got kids walking around here that are just about brain dead. Some kids now couldn't tell you their name if they had to, where they live, where they're from.
I also started a company called Dynasty. My mother's last time I was Bobby, my father last time I was Bruce Lee.
While we were at the precinct, police picked up Frank, a chronic paint sniffer who officers say has irreversible brain damage.
Would you ever tell your brother or sister to do an inhalant?
That's bad advice.
Bad advice?
That's like have a little baby and not feeding it. I fed a baby and feeding it poison.
Like having a baby and feeding it poison?
I wouldn't do that.
But you'd do it to yourself.
I don't know, waste my life. You're right.
Kids, when they're using inhalants, are maximally vulnerable.
Dr. Rick Scatterday has been treating huffers for 12 years. He says some physical damage is permanent, and death can occur from a number of complications.
There are so many ways that these kids can die that it's not so surprising that of kids who do die, 1 out of 5 even dies the first time.
Watch what happens to this hamster when it sniffs common gasoline. In less than 2 minutes, the hamster nearly asphyxiates. Danielle Warner passed out and almost died while huffing. Her high of choice? Airbrush propellant.
I went in and got a can of Propel because I wanted to get high because I was bored and there was nothing else to do.
Last March, 16-year-old Danielle was with some friends at a schoolyard in Grants Pass, Oregon. She stayed alone in the car, taking hits off the propellant, and passed out with the hose on, freezing to her lip. The entire 15-ounce can emptied, pouring down her throat and chest.
But I was going like that, and I was spitting out chunks of ice, and I thought it was my teeth.
Danielle refused to go to the hospital. Her friends took her home, where she tried to thaw herself out in a warm tub.
I thought I could make it better by doing that, but that only made it worse.
Danielle's body swelled from the frostbite, leaving giant blisters that hardened into firm jelly.
They tried to drain the blisters at the hospital, but they just kept forming and forming. And I would swallow the stuff that was inside the blisters, and it made this awful smell, like burnt flesh, or rotten meat.
Are we gonna let this inhalant take over our kids?
Parents around the country are fighting back. One group back in Austin, Texas, organized volunteers to go door to door to help educate store owners and families.
Hi. We'd like to give you some information about a problem in the neighborhood.
Check it out, butthead. Paint thinner. Cool.
Concerned citizens even sent the message to Beavis and Butthead, where producers were pressured to take segments that glamorized inhalant use off the air.
It's too early to tell if it's a boy or a girl.
Danielle is almost recovered and off inhalants, but her problems are far from over. She's 5 months pregnant and afraid that her baby will be affected by her abuse.
You can't tell now from me, but you can learn from the pictures what I went through. I mean, you can see the pain on my face.
And for the Umbihans, all they have left are memories of George and the poems he wrote.
If life were a dream, we could redo the moments we don't like. We could do things as our mind would want us to and not get hurt. But it's not a dream. Not for him, anyway.
Some signs that your child or your brother or sister might be using inhalants: sores or redness around the nose, a dazed look, respiratory trouble, and the smell of chemicals in the room or on clothes. Mike Lupica talks about kids and drugs and how it seems every generation has to learn the odds all over again.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were reviewing all the party animal casualties of the 1980s. A name had come up, a guy we used to know, now dead, sacrificed to the grand cause of having too much fun with drugs and alcohol. I used to wonder how those guys could do it every night, my friend said. But you know what? They couldn't. No, they couldn't. They ended up dead or in rehab because that's the drill. John Belushi ended up dead and so did Len Bias, and the line going into rehab was longer than the Macy's parade on Thanksgiving. And for years it seemed to have done some good. People got scared and drug use declined. Then River Phoenix ingested just about everything one night and ended up dead on a sidewalk, and other stories circulated about kids using drugs in clubs. Now comes this new study that confirms drug use is on the rise, and so is the use of inhalants. And researchers say the stage is set for the comeback of cocaine. It's news that's gotten lost a little bit under the sound of all the gunfire in America. These kids are no more bulletproof when it comes to dope than they are to real bullets fired from real guns. But they're like all kids, which means they think they'll live forever. They don't think River Phoenix was crazy for taking drugs, just that he got a little carried away. And they never heard of Belushi or Len Bias, and they don't know about the body count from the 80s. So we need to scare these kids and get the message out and fast, or they're going to have a body count of their own in the 90s. They won't live long enough to get to safe sex. This is Mike Lupica with the New York Minute.